had a call with a couple of business partners recently, and they were the classic visionary-integrator duo. One was bursting with ideas, long-term vision, lots of energy. The other one was very process-oriented, very grounded, very detail-oriented, very focused on execution. One brought the fuel, the gas pedal. The other brought the brakes and the controls. And this duo can be very powerful, but it can also be very destructive and the opposite of powerful and successful if a very important piece is missing. Because here's the truth. I've seen a lot of these partnerships just flame out. And it's not from a lack of passion or talent, certainly not from a lack of heart, but it's because they were missing something crucial. The partnership wasn't structured for success, something that turns that friction into flow, something that lets both people stay in their lane and operate in their area of genius. This is something that's missing that turns the visionaries' storm of ideas into something useful, into forward momentum. And in this episode, I'm going to show you what that missing piece is, how to know if it's absent, what happens when you finally lock it in, and then the real world impact that it creates. So if you're a visionary, or if you are an integrator, or if you work with a visionary, then stick around because you're going to want to hear this. All right, you're listening to the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com, where it's all about systematizing your construction business to eliminate chaos and maximize profit, freedom, and impact. My name is Todd DeWalt, founder here at constructionleadingedge.com. And my team and I have helped over 400 construction companies do just that, eliminate chaos and then grow their profits and grow their team. So we're all about three words here: freedom, impact, and wealth. So let's jump into it. Let's start with what it looks like when the missing piece is not in place. You have the visionary that is overflowing with ideas. They have new ideas constantly, every day. They have lots of great ideas, lots of momentum, but the team, especially their partner, their integrator, is left chasing a moving target. This leads to confusion, frustration, and stalled execution. It's what some would call organizational whiplash, where the visionary takes the organization in this direction as hard as they can go, and then a few days or a few weeks later, they get a new idea, shiny object syndrome strikes, and they do a 180 and they go back in the opposite direction just as hard and just as fast as they were doing. And the team struggles with organizational whiplash. As a result, the integrator is often constantly cleaning up after half-implemented ideas, half-ass integrations, and last-minute pivots, trying to hold the business together with duct tape, with a fire extinguisher, constantly putting out fires. The visionary wants to hand things off, but every time they do, it just seems like something breaks. And this reinforces this belief, you know what? If you want to do it, if you want it done right, you've got to do it yourself. I'm the only one who can do it right. And this puts them into this downward spiral of micromanagement. And most visionaries, if they're being honest, would say they're a bit of a control freak. And it's because they struggle to hand things off. And when they do try to hand it off, it just doesn't work very well. They don't delegate well. The integrator craves clarity. They crave consistency, but they struggle to get the visionary to slow down long enough to align and stay with a plan that actually sticks. They both want to grow. The visionary wants to grow. The integrator wants to grow. But without the structure, they are either stepping on each other's toes, duplicating efforts, or things are slipping through the cracks, which creates friction and frustration instead of momentum. So if you're wondering, am I a visionary? It kind of sounds like me. If you're wondering if you're a visionary, go listen to episode 316 of the Construction Leading Edge podcast here. The title of it is The Top 10 Challenges and Myths of a Visionary Leader. We do a deep dive into visionaries. So go check out episode 316 if you're wondering if you're a visionary or if someone you work with is a visionary. So now, without that missing piece, this structure that is often missing, without it, the visionary becomes this windstorm blowing through the business with new ideas while the team scrambles to pick up the debris. After a meeting, the team looks like tornado victims picking through the pieces, picking up pictures saying, look, I thought we were working on this. What happened to this idea? Or I thought we were going in this direction. Something like this happened to me 10 or 12 years ago. I was working with a classic visionary. And one Monday morning, he brought us in, pulled us all into the office, and he was super excited, was clearly emotional about this. And he proceeded to spend the next 3 to 3.5 hours telling us about how we're going to completely change the direction of the business. This business was a utility company, sewer rehabilitation. And he spent the next 3 to 3.5 hours telling us about how we were going to change and we were going to pivot and we needed to build housing for retirees. He had this clear vision that happened while he was playing cards on Sunday night, and he just woke up with a passion for it. And we spent all of this time talking about this is what we're going to do. We got up from that meeting, walked out of his office, and never heard another word about it. Organizational whiplash. So without this missing piece, let's talk about the integrator. They're often stuck in damage control, patching leaks, rerouting projects, answering questions, bracing for the next pivot, and never really getting the chance to build something that lasts. They're constantly being redirected, trying to play catch up. Meetings turn into triage sessions. Priorities shift with no warning, just like a storm that blows up. Plans change midweek. And the space between the business partners and the team can grow more tense, more distant every day. Let's say a new person on a team, they start on a Monday morning and they walk into this meeting with the visionary CEO and who's laying out all of these great ideas that they're excited about. And the new employee is furiously scribbling down notes. But as they look around, they notice nobody else is taking notes. And it seems like nobody else on the team is even paying attention. And they're curious about that. So after the meeting, they say, hey, a couple of questions. First of all, what was all that about? Then am I supposed to do something with all of this stuff that the boss just shared? And thirdly, I noticed nobody else was writing anything down. Like, what am I missing here? And then the longtime employee says, don't worry. We don't take notes. He does this every week and he'll just forget about it by next week. So no, don't do anything with that. So instead of climbing the mountain together, instead of two partners helping each other climb this mountain together, they're fighting each other, pulling on the rope, different directions, sometimes dragging each other up and down and frustrating, pulling in different directions. So as a result, the visionary starts to feel caged in by their own company. They feel handcuffed to this business and they're frustrated by why they can't execute on their vision. And the integrator starts to feel like they're the only adult in a house that's on fire. So now imagine this instead. Imagine if you're the visionary. The visionary wakes up full of ideas and there's a structure for these ideas to go into. There's a system that can process these ideas. The crazy ideas get eliminated. The good ideas get run through this system, and the team actually knows what to do with it. And all of this energy has a structure. This visionary energy has a structure to go into. And then the integrator finally gets to build things instead of babysit. They have the tools, the clarity, and they have a team that actually uses the system. Hey, it's Todd. We'll get back to the episode in just a minute, but let me ask you something. Have you ever signed a contract and then everything starts to feel a little bit chaotic? Questions fly around like, who's ordering what? When does the job actually start? Is the team ready? Did anybody order this material? Has this been approved yet? Project starts to feel like a fire drill, right? Well, the biggest problem in most construction businesses isn't a lack of effort. It's not the people. It's not the projects. It's not the clients. It's not you. It's the gaps in your process. Gaps where details fall through the cracks, where nobody's sure what to do, who's doing what, when it gets done. And you, the owner, end up filling in all those gaps, right? When there are questions, who they got to call? If there's a problem, it's going to land in your lap. And the biggest gap is pre-construction. And the solution is simple. Nailing the handoff from sales to construction. Nail the handoff from the office to the field. Your projects are like a relay race, and there's a baton that needs to be handed off. Nailing the handoff is a well-designed pre-construction process that closes those gaps, eliminates the chaos, and gives you back control. It gives you back the time so you can work on the business instead of being buried in it. And we can help you build that process. The first step is to book a free business evaluation call with our team. On your business evaluation call, here's what we're going to help you do. Spot the real gaps that are creating the chaos, show you how to nail the handoff and how doing that will put you back in control of your business. We'll even uncover some of the hidden profit that's already in your business. And if it makes sense, we'll talk about how we can help you build a business that runs without you. Click the link in the show notes to schedule your call. Be advised, we only have a few spots available each week, and not everybody qualifies for this call. This is not for everybody. So if you have a wave of work coming at you, or you're planning on growing and hiring people, now's the time to close those gaps with a good pre-construction process. If you're ready to stop reacting and finally take control, this is your next step. Go book your free business evaluation call with my team today. The visionary is the wind in the sails of the integrator. The integrator could focus on building the sails, so to speak, on the boat instead of trying to put out fires. So instead of business partners, and this could be spouses who work together, these could be business partners. In some cases, you have solo visionaries. So instead of 80-hour work weeks and vacations that never happen, or going on vacation but being on the phone all the time, the owners can take 20-hour work weeks and they can work on what they want to work on and work on things on their own terms. And then let's talk about the clients. Clients love working with the big picture visionaries. But when the system is in place, when the structure is in place, the clients get the best of both worlds. Instead of just tolerating the experience and dealing with the chaos that comes along with working with a visionary, they get to work with a visionary with the great ideas that are backed up with systems and a smooth delivery. So they get the best of both worlds. And then now you have a team that is not just building projects. They're not just building beautiful homes or remodeling homes or building commercial buildings. They're actually building a business. They're not stuck living in the projects. They're building a business that works for them. They're building a brand, one that reflects their standards, that supports their ideal lifestyle, and then builds real equity, actually creating equity. And this business, that feels like a job, doesn't feel like a job anymore. It feels like an asset. It feels like something they have the option of selling one day. What is that one thing? What's the missing piece that makes the visionary-integrator relationship, this visionary-integrator partnership finally click? What's the structure that harnesses potentially destructive energy into something good? It's what I call a strategic blueprint, okay? It's a customized, practical framework that turns the vision into structure. And there are a few pieces that are crucial in a strategic blueprint for a business. Just like, imagine this, if you were going to build a machine, if somebody hired you to build a machine, one of your first questions would be, okay, what is this machine going to produce? And how much of it is it going to produce? And then you would create a blueprint for that business. I hope you would never start a project without a blueprint, without a plan. But unfortunately, a lot of people run a business and they don't have a blueprint. There's no strategic blueprint. So here's a few key pieces of a strategic blueprint. So the first part of this strategic blueprint is a clearly articulated vision for the future. It's a unified picture of the future that's specific, actionable, and inspiring. And everybody on the team knows the destination and they know why it matters. The partners agree on where the business is going and what it's going to look like 2 years in the future, 5 years in the future. I'm going to read an excerpt from the E-Myth Revisited. Here's what the author, Michael Gerber, said. He heard a story about Tom Watson, the founder of IBM. Asked to what he attributed the phenomenal success of IBM, here's what Tom Watson said. IBM is what it is today for three special reasons. The first reason is, at the very beginning, I had a very clear picture of what the company would look like when it was finally done. You might say I had a model in my mind of what it would look like when the dream, my vision, was in place. The second reason was that once I had that picture, I then asked myself how a company which looked like that would have to act. I then created a picture of how IBM would act when it was finally done. The third reason IBM has been so successful was that once I had a picture of how IBM would look when the dream was in place and how such a company would have to act, I then realized that unless we began to act that way from the very beginning, we would never get there. In other words, I realized that for IBM to become a great company, it would have to act like a great company long before it ever became one. From the very outset, IBM was fashioned after the template of my vision. And each and every day we attempted to model the company after that template. At the end of each day, we asked ourselves how well we did, discovered the disparity between where we were and where we had committed ourselves to be. And at the start of the following day, we set out to make up for that difference. Every day at IBM was a day devoted to business development, not doing business. We didn't do business at IBM, we built one. We didn't do business at IBM, we built one. And it all starts with a clearly articulated vision. That's the first part of a strategic blueprint. The second part that's crucial is clearly defined roles and decision-making boundaries so that each partner, the visionary and the integrator, can stay in their lane. They can play to their strengths without stepping on each other, without things falling through the cracks. The other part that needs to be part of the strategic blueprint is the structure that provides freedom. Right? A lot of people think that systems and structure inhibit freedom, but structure provides freedom. There is freedom in structure. Jocko Willink said, discipline equals freedom. Discipline doesn't take away freedom. Discipline and structure and processes actually create freedom. So some of the structures that provide freedom include pre-construction systems, planning rhythms, hiring processes, and accountability tools. These are repeatable systems that let the business run without constant owner involvement. Think you're designing a machine that should be designed to run without you as the owner. There needs to be a communication rhythm. Communication is crucial. Weekly meetings, planning sessions, and real-time scoreboards that allow both partners to stay aligned without constant hand-holding. There needs to be data and there needs to be communication. And then finally, there needs to be a commitment to execute on this vision. It needs to be written down. The vision needs to be written down. It's not enough to have the plan. It's not enough just to talk about it and paint with a magic paintbrush. The real win comes from having this vision written down and then sticking to it, even when it's not sexy, sticking to the vision, even when the shiny opportunity of a lifetime comes along. And the only way you can do that is to have a written down vision that both or all leaders commit to. So when you have this strategic blueprint in place, you have this framework in place, it turns the storm into energy, right? It's like harnessing wind with a turbine instead of letting it tear the house down. So imagine if you're the visionary, imagine if your biggest ideas didn't create chaos, but it actually created momentum. Imagine if you knew you had the guardrails in place and the structure in place that you didn't have to tamp down your creativity, but you had the confidence to know that, okay, I can share these ideas and it will go into a structure that is productive instead of creating chaos. Imagine if you're an integrator. Imagine that you had the time to actually build real systems. You had some runway to be able to look down the road and know that you're going to be able to work on something until it's complete. And you can actually create momentum and get things implemented and then have this cycle of continuous improvement. And you could really focus on things, knowing that the vision is articulated and you know exactly where you're going. The destination is clear. The end result, the vision is clear. Imagine if you're the integrator or you partner with an integrator, that they could build real systems instead of reacting to emergencies. So think about that. Imagine having that strategic blueprint in place, having that structure in place. What would be the best part for you? If you're the visionary, what would be the best part for you? If you're the integrator, what would be the best part for you? If you're listening to this, maybe you're an employee and you work with a visionary. Imagine what it would be like for you if the visionary that you work with had this structure in place. And then think about the ripple effects of that. How would that affect your team? What would that do for the team? Maybe there's tension currently. You could sort of feel the tension in the office, how would that affect the team to have this strategic blueprint and this structure in place? How would it affect your clients? Maybe you're doing a pretty good job of insulating your clients from feeling the ripple effects or the chaos, but what sort of positive ripple effects would your clients feel? Hey, this is Todd. We'll get back to the episode in just a moment, but I've got a time-sensitive announcement for you. If you're frustrated with your team and you've ever caught yourself thinking, why do I still have to do all of this stuff myself? Then this is for you. Maybe you're constantly cleaning up after your people. Maybe you're constantly answering the same question over and over. Maybe you can't take a real vacation without your phone blowing up. You have these things you want to work on in the business, but you just don't have time. Or worse, you're concerned that your A players could be getting burnt out because they're carrying the weight of the B players that you've kept around for too long. If that hits close to home, then this is for you. There's a better way. On October 16th, we're hosting The Advance. It's a one-day live event in Nashville, Tennessee, designed to solve the biggest growth blocker in your construction business, your team. And the theme for this event is how to build the team that builds the business. Here's what you're going to walk away from this one-day event with: how to stop settling for B players, how to develop intrapreneurs, employees who think and operate like owners, and how to build a culture where your team takes ownership of results. This event is not for entrepreneurs. This is not for people who are a one-man show, one-woman show. It's not for aspiring entrepreneurs. If you're thinking about starting a business, or if you don't own a construction business, this is not for you. It is for owners of custom home building and remodeling companies doing at least $1 million in revenue a year, and who have a team and who want to build the team that builds the business. If that's you, go grab your seat for this one-day event, The Advance. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/live, LIVE, and grab your ticket before it sells out. This event will sell out, so go to constructionleadingedge.com/live, LIVE, and grab your seat for The Advance. Learn how to build the team that builds the business. So if this sounds like you, whether you are a visionary, maybe you're a classic visionary-integrator partnership, or maybe you're just a visionary, you feel like you're doing things right, but something's just not clicking. It feels like there's a missing piece. If you want help creating your strategic blueprint, if you'd like our help creating your strategic blueprint, or maybe you're a visionary and you crave that structure, but you just don't have an integrator. You crave having the systems and processes in place, but you just know you're not the person to do it, then I would invite you to go apply for a call, a business evaluation call with my team. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY. We'll walk you through the process, show you what's missing, show you how to create a strategic blueprint for your business, how we can help you create a strategic blueprint for your business. And we'll also uncover some hidden profit that could be in your business, profit that you're leaving on the table. So if you're wondering what a strategic blueprint looks like, what does it look like when a visionary has a strategic blueprint in place? Here are a couple of case studies, a couple of podcast episodes to go check out. First is Todd Ingersoll. After decades of being stuck in reactive mode, Todd built a lean, systematized construction business that runs now without him micromanaging every detail. He now has a team that solves problems without bringing them all to him, and he's finally working on the business and not in it. You can go listen to Todd's interview on episode 370. Next is Max Christensen. He used to feel like he was the only one who could hold things together. Now he and his team have built this culture of ownership and accountability where his team drives results and he has the freedom to strategically think and also take a lot of time off. And you could listen to Max Christensen's interview on episode 337. And then there's Chris Miller, Chris with a K. He broke free from the overwork culture that had him buried in day-to-day chaos, and he was able to achieve his goal of working. His target was to get down to 10 hours a week and be able to spend a lot of time in Australia while his business ran without him. You could listen to that interview with Chris Miller on episode 361. So if you want our help to create the strategic blueprint for your business and systematize your construction business, the next step would be to go apply for a business evaluation call with my team. You can click the link in the show notes or go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply. We'll walk you through the process, show you what's missing, and then help you put the structures in place to build a business that gives you freedom, the impact, and the wealth that you're looking for. Thanks for listening. Let's talk soon. Hey, it's Todd here. One more thing before you go. Remember, if you're dealing with chaos every day, if you're spending too much time in firefighting, if your whole team is in reactive mode, it's probably not your team, it's not your clients, it's not your project, it's not you, it's the gaps. And the biggest gap is the one between signing the contract and starting the job. That's where the details get missed. That's where the stress begins. And the fix is simple. It's a solid pre-construction process so you can nail the handoff from the office to the field. We want to help you build that out. And the first step is to schedule your free business evaluation call. Click the link in the show notes. We're going to help you identify the root cause of your chaos, show you how to unlock the profit that's already in your business, and we'll lay out a plan to help you nail the handoff. And if it makes sense, we'll talk about what working together looks like. So click the link in the show notes to schedule your call with my team. Be advised, calls are very limited and not everybody qualifies for these calls. So go book your call today, and I'll see you next time.